everyone, this is Heather. Thanks so much for joining me. Today I've got a card tutorial for you and we're going to be making this cute bunny Valentine. I'm using a digital stamp set from Isabel Cristina. She has an Etsy shop and I will link to her store down below. This is a set from her called Sending Love, and I wanted to show you what you got in the set. So I just took a piece of computer paper and printed out the images. Today I'm using the little bunny with the envelope. There's one mailing a card, giving a card, and a cute little shy bunny, and then there's also a Sending Love sentiment. I'm also going to be using some dies from Stampin' Up. I'm using their stitched rectangle dies and the Be Mine stitched heart dies. I've got a red cardstock base, just 8.5 by 11, cut, scored, folded in half. I've taken a polka dot piece of cardstock from a Muse Studio that's red and white polka dots, and I've taken the stitched rectangle die and I've die cut that out, so hopefully you can see the little stitch lines along the edge there. And from some more red cardstock, I've cutted a stitched rectangle for my sentiment and one of the stitched hearts. I'm just going to be using this outline, so I'm going to set this aside. I've printed out the bunny that's holding the envelope, and I've printed it on 110-pound weight white cardstock. I don't have a very fancy printer. It's just an HP Envy photo printer, you know, nothing too special. I'm going to be coloring my images with tri-blend markers from Spectrum Noir. These are markers that have 3 shades in the same color on one marker. I have more detailed videos on my channel if you'd like to learn more about these. Using the lightest shade of the pale pink blend marker, I'm coloring in the nose, the ears, and adding some round cheeks to the bunny and the heart on the envelope. Moving on to the darker shade of the pale pink marker, I'm going to add some shading and shadowing. On the circular cheeks, I'm just going to add kind of a half moon design, following along that circle there, just to give a nice round rosy cheek. And some shading on the heart. I'm going in with the medium tone of the pale pink blend marker. I'm going to overcolor just a little bit on that dark on all those sections. I'm going to go back to the lightest shade and blend those colors together. And then a lot of time I like to go back one more time with that darkest shade and really add a defining dark area. With the pink shade laid down, I'm moving on to earth brown. Again, I'm starting off with the lightest shade, and I'm going to fill in everything that's left on the bunny except where I added pink. A little tip that I have when I'm working in really large areas, I don't want to accidentally color over a section that I've already colored. I like to just kind of draw around it. So I'm just going to draw some circles around those pink cheeks, and I'll also usually go around the edge of the inside of the stamp. For me, this just kind of helps keep a barrier there so I don't accidentally color outside the lines. So I'm going to fill in the entire rest of the bunny with this lightest shade. Now I'm going in with the darker marker and I'm laying down some shading, just kind of following along the stamp lines, adding a little bit more of a heavy coverage on the left-hand side as if the light is coming from the upper right-hand corner. I'm moving on to the medium shade and I'm going to slightly overcolor. So just kind of blending the light and the dark together. Trying to avoid those cheeks that I've made. And once again, back to that lightest shade to blend those all together. With those shades blended in together, I'm going back to the darker tone and I'm just going to add a little bit of extra shadow on some of these stamp lines, like the eyebrows, the top of the cheek, on one side of the nose, little bit more under the neck. Just a couple little places where I think it could be a little bit darker. And here's what my bunny looks like after I've finished coloring. Now I'm going in with the dark red blend marker. I'm going to completely fill in the envelope with the lightest shade, just like I did with the bunny. Just avoiding that heart in the center. With the lightest shade laid down, I'm going to the darker shade. Gonna add some shading and shadowing, again with my shadows a little bit darker on the lower left-hand side. I'll follow along the lip of the envelope and around the heart. So I've laid down that darker marker, and you'll kind of see that I sort of round off the edges a little bit. I just think this gives it a little bit more of a realistic shadow. Going in with the medium, I'm going to overcolor the dark and the light shades. And once again, back to this lightest shade to blend everything in together. On this card, I wanted to do some partial die cutting, which means the shape of the white heart around the rabbit is die cut, but the envelope is not. So to get this look, I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut around the envelope. I'm going to leave just a little bit of a white border. I'm cutting the bottom and the sides. And now I'm going to cut in just a bit across the top so that I've got a slit there. I'm going to do that on both sides. So I hope you can see the slit that I've cut. Taking the scalloped heart die, I'm going to place it face down and I'm going to slip it under the envelope. So it's the edges are here underneath the little flaps that I cut. I'm going to center my heart where I would like it to be on my paper. And I'm going to use some repositionable tape and tape this in place and run this through my die cutting machine so that now it will only cut out this heart piece in the background and it will not cut out where the envelope is. So I'm going to carefully peel up this tape and take my die off. And now I've got just the partially die cut heart. I also wanted to add the stitch marks around the heart. So this is a die that only cuts faux stitching. It does not actually die cut out a shape. It just adds the stitch line. So I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did before. I'm going to slip this up into the slits. I'm going to line it up so that there's equal amounts of white showing around the edges of the die. I'm going to tape this in place and run this through my die cutting machine. And now we have those fun faux stitched lines. I wanted to add a little bit more texture to my bunny image, so I'm taking a Signaball white gel pen. I'm filling in the whites of the eyes, add a little bit of a white dot on the cheek, and I'm going to draw just some random little polka dots all over my red envelope. And here are all my little polka dots drawn on. Now I want to adhere this red scalloped edge around my heart. I'm going to turn it over and lay it face down and line everything up. Take my pencil and along these little lines that I cut, these little flaps here, I'm going to draw a line with my pencil and trim this bottom part off with my scissors. Because I wanted to pop this piece up, I want to tape down the scallop to the white. So I've taken some Scotch tape and I'm tearing it into really small strips, and I'm gonna overlap that all along the back and tape that scallop in place. I don't know if you'll be able to see it on camera, but I just have little strips of Scotch tape all around the edges to hold that scallop on. I've also placed some foam tape on the back as well. I've applied tape runner to the back of my polka dot piece, and I'm going to center that on my card base. I've die cut the thin rectangle die, and using black memento ink, I'm stamping "Some Bunny Loves You," and this sentiment is from Some Bunny from My Favorite Things. I'm going to apply my sentiment in the lower left-hand corner of my card. I've taken the backing tape off of the foam tape, and I'm going to place that on my card front at just a little bit of an angle and adhere that down. And here is our finished card. I think these bunny digi stamps are so totally adorable. They make really cute Valentine's Day cards. They'd also be really fun for a birthday or for an anniversary or even a wedding card. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial today. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Be sure to check out my channel and subscribe. And I hope you have a really happy Valentine's Day. This is Heather. Bye.